This is StreamNative. Our talk is Streaming Made Easy by David and myself. David, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Tim. Hi, my name is David Kjerrumgaard. I'm Apache Pulsar committer and also author of Pulsar in Action. I'm a developer advocate here at StreamNative, formerly worked at Splunk and several other companies throughout my career, highlighted here. Thank you, Tim.
You also have a book.
Oh, yeah. Also, in my spare time, also, as I mentioned before, I'm an author of Pulsar in Action and co-author of Practical Hive. And just to note, for those of you attending this talk, if you go to that link below, you can get an entire electronic version, all 12 chapters, all 400 pages of that version available for free. Download there at streamnative.io. For if you're interested, I encourage you to go grab that resource. And thank you, Tim.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm Tim Spann, developer advocate at StreamNative. I worked with David at Hortonworks, and I worked at a couple other places. I push what I call the flippin' stack, Flink, Pulsar, and NiFi, and I've been doing this for a little while. I've got a weekly newsletter. Check it out. Let's go into the quick background on Apache Pulsar. It is a very vibrant, growing community. We've got over 500 contributors to the project, over 7,000 people chatting in our Slack group, finding out what's the latest information, over 10,000 commits. So those contributors are putting in a lot of code, a lot of work, a lot of updates. It is a constantly growing, improving project. If you haven't seen it in a couple of years, you will be amazed by the features that are in there now. There's over 1,000 organizations around the world using Apache Pulsar. And I'm going to show you a quick, tiny little video, and just to show you how quickly Apache Pulsar is growing versus some of the other messaging and streaming technologies as you look over time. Oh, it's this Insight.io if you haven't seen it. It's a really cool project that combines Pulsar and TIDB to analyze everything going on at GitHub, including all the data that was there, plus every commit that comes through, and you can see it real time. Pretty cool. As we know, a number of years ago, 5-6 years ago, Kafka was huge, constantly growing, but in the shadows, Pulsar comes out of nowhere, out of Yahoo actually, and just starts exploding. As you can see, we're slowly catching up to Kafka and the number of pull requests being put out there. And then we quickly pass them to where we are today, just to give you a quick overview of what's going on. If you haven't heard of Pulsar, it's out there. What makes it interesting and growing is a couple of features that are very unique and very important, I think, in today's world with all this different technology out there. Being able to do everything in one platform, and we'll show you why. Guarantee you get your messages, and resiliency. So parts of the system go down, we guarantee you get your message. We won't lose your message. We keep running. If there's any way possible to do it, no matter how many servers we lose, networks go down, we keep trying however possible, and we scale out as big as you need to go. There's very large companies around the world, especially in China, that have scaled out to the petabyte range. Lots of nodes, lots of topics. And when I mean lots, we're talking millions of topics. They're huge deployments out there, and it's basically bound by what needs you may have out there. What's nice is one place where you can manage and overview your cluster, scale it up or down, left or right, however you need to do it. What's cool, as opposed to some of the other streaming tech out there, cloud native by design since day one. So storage and compute are decoupled from each other. So you could scale up number of producers and consumers without having to add storage that you may not be using. Makes those nodes cheaper, better experience for everybody. Makes it easy to partition things, don't have to rebalance, don't have to bring things down. This is, to me, that's table stakes for cloud native apps. Being able to spread your data geographically for high availability and redundancy around the world without heavy lifting. You just set a little configuration and you're good to go. Having the ability to subscribe to the data in whatever way that makes sense for you. That's very powerful. And being able to work with the different libraries and protocols and apps you have already, so you don't have to throw away everything because there's a new messaging product out there. And because of those existing protocol support, you can use a lot of the same tools you were using before without, again, having to learn a whole new set of things. I know everyone loves to learn new things, but sometimes shouldn't have to just for infrastructure. So like we mentioned with that cloud nativeness, Pulsar brokers, they do the routing, stateless, load balancing, segment the topics, make sure you can get your message. They don't store them. Again, big separation from what you do in other systems. Apache Bookkeeper does the storage, make sure it has all the cursors, sets things up in ledgers. So this isn't just a couple of flat log files somewhere. This is an advanced fast storage mechanism that allows us to not have those partitioning problems, not have some of those scalability issues that you might have if you used a very simple storage mechanism. And then plugged separately out of this is we use a metadata storage system. It's often Zookeeper, but with the new Kubernetes-based deployments, etcd is another option, so it's RocksDB. Like everything in Pulsar, it's designed for flexibility and modularity, so you can replace that with a new one. You want to write your own, very easy APIs to do that. It is really nice in the design of Pulsar. The things are designed to be changed without a lot of hard coding everywhere, like you might see in some other messaging systems. And again, another feature you gotta have for cloud native applications is to be able to be multi-tenant. So within Pulsar, this is how I can replace a ton of different messaging systems with one. I could have one cluster, and again, with the ability to spin it up and down, very easy to move all your workloads into one place. And I'll just set up different tenants for each one, and those tenants could be companies, could be business units, could be apps, whatever makes sense for you. Under there, each tenant could have as many namespaces as you need, and then you add your hundreds of thousands of topics underneath there. Again, that's nice, is it makes it a little easier to come up with these topic names, and you never have to make a list and see all the topics in the cluster in one place, because you could divide it up really nicely. This is a great way to do that. This feature I really like, very helpful. Now we mentioned different subscriptions, different types of messaging. If we're going to be unified messaging, we've got to support a lot of different things, such as fan out. You could have unique subscriptions for each consumer, and these can be exclusive, or we could use our failover subscription. This way, each one of these consumers gets their own dedicated stream of data. If you want to have queuing, you could share a subscription name, use the shared mechanism. This is if you're implementing a work queue, have like 100 consumers, each of them on that same subscription, trying to process that stream of data as fast as possible. Again, the only flaw with that is you're not going to be in any kind of order. Whoever gets it, process as fast as you need to. Great for doing some kind of remote procedure call, just get work done. If you need to do streaming, like CDC logs, you want things in order. Here we've got a couple mechanisms. We could do exclusive, so you make sure it's exactly what's in order. Failover is in case that consumer is not working, have his buddy take over. And then to split the difference, key shared will let you assign a key and get in order for that key. I use this for CDC, put that table name in the key and just process table per consumer. Great way to scale up, but still be in order. Very nice feature there. Everything in Pulsar is a message, and so we get your data around. We got your payload, but there's some extra niceties around that. You've got a key, use a key, always use a key. We want to be able to identify it. It's also helpful in compressing data, partitioning it. just put a key in there. You could add as many key value pairs as properties as you want. Set a producer name. We need that for duplicate data and a bunch of other checks. And you'll get a sequence ID so you know you're in order. So you don't have to run anything separate. We've got you for schemas. Schema registry built in, supports the major types of schemas. Again, like everything else, very easy to enhance and extend. Avro protobuf JSON support, very easy to use it. First time you want to put data in, you could load a schema through APIs if you want, or command line interfaces, or I could just create a Python class or a Java bean with the fields I want, and if they're nullable or not. And then when I send that first data with that schema, that's set up for me. So if you don't want to have to write those schemas out, this will just handle it for you. Then the consumer gets it, and you've got that contract. And that schema can also be used by Spark SQL and Flink SQL and Trino. It is a great thing to have schemas. PubSub API, if we're doing that shared, this is all you got to do to change it. It's not some massive amount of work depending on what kind of subscription type. You just pick your subscription type, your name and your topic, and you're ready to go. Same for things like failover. So it's not super heavy lifting here to handle that. If you want to be able to look at old data, and this is something we get because we have that infinite scalable data because we support tiered storage. So say, I've been streaming for months and I've got petabytes. Maybe that's not stored in my local bookkeeper nodes. It's stored in S3. Using the reader interface, I can go back to that first message. I don't have to reload it from S3 into something else and try to figure out what order it came in. I can read back as far as I want. A lot of people will save a pointer to some point you might want to go back to if you don't want to read to the beginning. Makes it easy, or you can look at what's current. This is a great way to walk through your data set, especially if you want to reload it or maybe load it into another environment. This is a cool API. We've got built-in back pressure, makes it easy so you're not going to have to worry about, am I going to blow things up? Things going to blow up on me if network's slow or my app is slow. Gives you a lot of ways to configure how you're going to consume messages, how you're going to produce them. It is a nice feature. Now, to give you another way to look at your data, there's a support for the table abstraction. This is in case you want to look at things as if there were a table and you still want to do it with Pulsar. You could do it with Spark or Flink or Trino, but if you want to do this very easily within your app without having to use, a fancy framework, I can look at data as if it was a table and use these consumers to get this data. Makes it very easy to consume data in this pattern. We got to I love this diagram here. I got to figure out how to make these myself. I like that watercolor look. So you create a table view, which is this compacted topic on the side, really not taking up too much space. But this is just the recent values. And again, a reason why to have those keys. So you got a key value pointing into this data, and you just get the most recent. So if you have some kind of system where you want to see what's going on with the data, this is a good use case like stocks. What's the most recent value? Be able to very quickly get into that simple API. Great for a lot of different applications where you're concerned with what's the most recent value, even if it just keeps changing. These are values that could change a lot. You see this in time series, you see this in IoT, logs, lots of different things will have updated values. And sometimes I just want to see the most current. That is very helpful. We got to get data in and out, as you might expect. So we make it pretty easy to get your data in and out without having to write too much code or no code. With our connectors, you set a little bit of YAML, maybe a little DevOps stuff to deploy them out there. And there's a ton of different sources and syncs out there. Again, very easy to use open API. You could write your own, but there's connectors for most of the databases. Most of the people talking today, we can talk to them. So if you saw some talk and said, hey, I'm going to store in ClickHouse, well, we've got a connector for ClickHouse. You know, so you can get your data in and out of Pulsar very easily. Once you get something into Pulsar, it's very easy to get it out and get it out in lots of different ways. This is our different protocol handlers. If you don't want to use Pulsar protocol, or maybe you want to take some of your older messaging systems like Kafka or Rabbit or MQTT, we turn on those protocols in the Pulsar system, and we look just like those clusters. So you can pull in messages, use all the standard libraries that those have, get messages in and out. What's cool is I could have a connector pull from a data store and have someone consume it via the Kafka protocol, or via AMQP, or via MQTT, or via WebSocket. It's very easy. And we support, like I mentioned, those cool processing engines out there, and that tiered storage to a bunch of different places is there. Then finally, we'll talk about this a little bit in depth on functions. These are not to replace Spark or Flink, but let you do things like you would do in a database trigger, you know, routing, enrichment, maybe run some machine learning, a great way to get your activities done. And like I mentioned, we've got a SIG for ClickHouse, so very easy for me to stream a whole bunch of data to ClickHouse, you know, as it comes in, events at a time. Really easy to set this up to stream events into ClickHouse. And there's a bunch of talks I've done previously on how to do this, so I won't waste your time today on that. And it's very easy to do. We've got a connector there, and you set a couple of parameters and you're ready to go. And that'll just, you know, push that data right in there. Very easy to start using it in your cloud. I went through pretty quick, but we got a pretty short time here. And David has a pretty awesome, kind of hard to imagine it's possible demo. So I will transfer that to you. Are you ready, David?
I am. Here we go. Yep. So yeah, thank you, Tim, for that great introduction and background on Apache Pulsar. So we cover a lot of different things, and one of the things we're trying to do is make streaming easier and make it support multiple different use cases. And Pulsar, the biggest claim we can make is Pulsar can speak multiple protocols. So Pulsar is the only messaging system out there that can talk to other messaging systems, allow you to bring in and backward existing legacy applications you've written in RabbitMQ or Kafka, or you want to extend your infrastructure out to the edge and use like MQTT protocol. Pulsar can support all of that. So what I want to do is sort of cover on that. So that's done through protocol handlers first. So the first one we wrote in the open source community was called Kafka on Pulsar. And we decided as a framework, we worked out the details, but basically we have individual protocol handlers. And so a single Pulsar broker has these endpoints that different systems can connect to, and it translates the commands that you send from the clients into execution statements that have to be done inside a Pulsar broker to like look up a topic, create a topic, send data, publish data, save an offset. And so every different messaging system has their own subset of commands that get sent back and forth at a much lower level protocol. Pulsar allows you to support too. So originally always set up Kafka and Pulsar first, and those are the ones that came out. Next, we decided, hey, let's extend this. Is really cool. Let's try the MQTT protocol. So again, we support currently the 3.3 version of that. We're adding support for MQTT 5 in the later versions of that. And it's a very similar protocol or mechanism where we have a protocol handler in place. We can speak to an MQTT client natively, producers and consumers. And, you know, obviously this is sits inside a Pulsar cluster. And you're starting to see a pattern here. We did it for AMQP. That was the third thing. We started, you know, very similar pattern. And we started to say, hey, what happens if, you know, it started to explore the art of the possible, as Tim mentioned. So for this demo, I said, hey, we've always envisioned as having Pulsar plus one, Pulsar and MQTT, or Pulsar and Kafka on Pulsar. And I said, let's try and stretch those limits and see if we can have multiple protocol handlers. Let's get a Pulsar out there that speaks everything all at once. And that's cool. And then, but we always, if you go back, we also would originally say, hey, we're writing to our own topic. Each of these protocols kind of use Pulsar, but they use it, you know, all the AMQP stuff would stay in AMQP topics, and all the MQTT stuff would be used for MQTT topics so that the producers and consumers to speak with one another, and Kafka and Pulsar, you know, accordingly. So, hey, they're all kind of little silos in their own environment. But I said, hey, let's see how far I can go with making all these different, have one shared topic and have AMQP published to a topic, and MQTT published to it, and Kafka published to it, and Pulsar published to it, and have everybody subscribe to that same topic. And let's see how much bandwidth, how much chatter we could go on in the single channel. And so I decided as part of that to create, if I can stop sharing my screen, I'm going to show you a project. Oh, actually, I'll move back to that 1 second. I had one more slide to show you on that, and then I'll transition. Sorry about that. This protocol. So the code is available here. We're going to do a multi-protocol demo. That's the point of this demonstration, is to show you that Pulsar can speak all of these things. This code is available for download here. This is publicly available, Apache license. If you're interested in this and intrigued in this, want to expand it, play around with it, I encourage you to go here and look at it. Now let's share my entire screen. Here, we're going to look at each other's here. Close this for a second. And you can see this is all running in Docker. So I started up first. There's a script to do all these different things. Sorry. All these things here. So this is the cloning of that repo I showed you. It has a very detailed README, and this is actually a fork of another project started that Ricardo Ferreira did for a Pulsar Summit doing just Kafka, and I've expanded to that. So kudos to him for starting this, but I've added this particular detail. So again, I've ran the start persistent script, which then spins up the bookkeeper bookies separately in a separate layer. Then there's another script that starts the brokers, and I've executed both of those in the previous sessions. And now we have a persistence layer with multiple bookies running and a zookeeper. And we have multiple, I do just have a single broker, but you can spin up multiple brokers. So all these containers are running. It's all localized. I've actually optionally added the option to attach our Pulsar manager to this. So if you wanted to have a user interface to this and you could easily manage your Pulsar cluster, you just run this additional script and follow the setup steps, but I skipped that for now, but you can definitely follow these, set up your environment and everything goes. So let's go ahead and start a very simple scenario where we have a microservice built for AMQP, and I'll start that one producing. So what we're going to get with this one is here, I'm already in that particular directory. I'm going to do, they all do run microservice, and it starts, what it's going to do is start publishing to this one topic and listening back to it at the same time. So it rebuilds the image itself, it builds this information. I probably should have cached it first, but that's fine. So now, of course, it's going to give me errors. Live demo. What did I forget to do? What did I forget to do? Well, let's skip that one for now. Let's go ahead and do the Kafka one. We'll spin this one up. I'm just going to start publish with Kafka, and I'll go back and fix the AMQP. Let's go ahead and start publishing with Kafka. Similarly, we'll go ahead and start this guy, and we can start publishing with MQTT at the same time. Again, they're all publishing to the same topic. This is doing some setup stuff, builds an image, creates all this information for you, and it starts doing this information. So you can see here, this guy is starting to receive, each message has a little icon that indicates it's the talking person speaking to the particular queue. It's telling you I'm using Kafka to talk to Pulsar. So this is the Kafka cluster. It's seeing its own stuff. It's spinning its own stuff. It's seeing this information. Likewise, this guy is using the MQTT to talk to Pulsar. And then this last one is going to be, or I'm sorry, that one's the MQTT, and this one's going to be Pulsar. So they should start to see their own individual commands. I know what I got to do. There's a command here. Something about this. Delete that guy. There's one command. So they're all talking to one another, talking their own protocols. Now, if I add the AMQP, hopefully this is going to work. Oh, there we go. So the Pulsar is starting to get the different commands. See, he's getting the stuff from Kafka. He's getting the stuff from Pulsar. I'm not sure why the MQTT isn't working right now. It's getting its own messages and AMQP. So there's got to be something I did not do here properly. Apologize for this. You gotta love the live demos. Nothing ever works. Nothing ever works. even though you
Well,
test.
Docker on Mac is not as good as it was. Yeah, something's probably not running, like maybe one of the containers.
Yeah, it's definitely that. I don't want to drill down into this in live troubleshoot, but we can see here we demonstrate every system is able to publish and talk to Pulsar, receive back from its own system. I swear if you run this thing locally, each one can. So this one's starting to pick it up. So Kafka and Pulsar are going back and forth. They can consume from one another. MQT doesn't want to join the party for whatever reason. An AMQP, there's a configuration setting. I just have to create a V topic for that. So I'm trying to figure out where that was. And the Docker file was supposed to do that. This was this build. Well, the persistence was supposed to do that, but it didn't do that. So I would try to run these manually.
Yeah, when you have something this complex, because you're running Pulsar with Pulsar protocol, MQTT protocol, AMQP protocol, Kafka protocol, plus all the microservices publishing and listening, that's kind of crazy. That's a lot of stuff.
So it already exists. So why doesn't it work? It's weird. Set a policy on this guy. I will try it one more time, I swear, because it was working right before this. Getting some demos here before I wrap it up, and we'll try to run this guy one more time.
I will lend you some RAM.
I need.
Oh, does it need a different? No, AOP says it's running. Maybe there's a one it wasn't cleaned out last time.
I might have left an old one laying there. I think I tried to remove with a transpose name. Sorry about that. So this is cool too. The script automatically downloads the latest code, brings it in, builds the latest one, restarts it. So when it changes, automatically get connected. What is this? Failed to declare queue. My queue. Don't understand. Got to be some sort of issues with that. Should have brought up the UI and tested this. So I apologize for that demo. But as we can see, MQTT is working. Pulsar and Kafka are able to go back and forth. And I swear they all can talk to one another. So, but for now, you just have to trust me that Kafka and MQTT is enough of a demonstration for that. So let's go ahead and conclude this. I know we're running close on time, so we'll go ahead and do that. So thank you, everyone. So who we are, we're StreamNative. We're founded by the original creators of Apache Pulsar. We employ the bulk of all the active core committers like myself. We have more experience designing, deploying, and running Pulsar instances than anybody else in the world. We have some very large customers that work with us. Again, we work with ClickHouse. We integrate with them. They're super friends with us. They're great analytic systems. You can stream in MQTT data into ClickHouse, AMQP. You've seen that. We can publish it in Kafka, everything all in a single system. Get your streaming data in from multiple sources into a single platform and into ClickHouse. Last but not least, going to give you some query codes. This one to learn about more about Apache Pulsar and StreamNative itself. And just another different one that leads you to some different. I know this is Tim's because it's got the cool little dinosaur in there. And
I think it leads you to dinosaurs. I don't know.
Leads you to dinosaur code and code like that. So all that information with that. But again, don't be discouraged by my bad demo. It will work. I swear to God, it's downloadable. If you want to learn more, go back and get the book. That's our additional resources. And I just want to thank everyone for your attention to see if we have any questions from the audience itself, other than why doesn't the demo work?
Well, there was one question. I put an answer in it.
Okay.
But if we've got a little time, if you want to go a little deeper in it, is Pulsar compatible with Kafka sync and source connectors?
Yes, it is. So I can share a link, or maybe Tim can go get that latest. Ricardo's the one I mentioned as the base for the demo that didn't work, and it does not reflect on Ricardo's because I changed his code. His was entirely all the different Kafka tools. So he has a K-Streams example in a similar project where you start it up and run it. He has a K-Tables one. He has a Kafka connectors one. And he has a Kafka microservice one and a Pulsar one. So they all just work natively, and you can test it yourself. And that code is also Apache licensed and available. And there's a video of him doing it from Pulsar Summit. If you Google Pulsar Summit 2022, Ricardo Ferreira, you'll find that talk, and it's a really good demonstration of that. So it's a very long answer to say, a very long way of saying yes. It works with that.
Yeah, and I posted it to the main lobby chat.
Thank you so much. Yep.
Yeah, if you see Ricardo's demo, the amount of Docker he's running is breathtakingly large.
Yeah, and I'm getting most of it, almost 90% of mine's running, but it is a testament to how hard it is to get running for sure.
Well, probably RAM and Docker are difficult.
Yeah, I think so. Something's going on under there that I'm not aware of. So another question in here.
Is there a second question? Oh, there's an open one.
Yep. Does StreamNative Hub support Kafka source sync connectors as plugins? So the StreamNative connector hub has, I believe, has a Kafka source and sync that you can natively just deploy. So they come as artifacts that you can deploy directly in there. Yes.
Yeah, and they're pretty easy. I mean, it's you download a thing, set up a little config, and you're ready to go. It's surprisingly easy. And the one for ClickHouse is almost too easy. I was surprised.
Yeah.
It's like 5 minutes to do it.
Yep. Tim had previously demoed one of those, so we didn't want to do it again for just the sake of variety, but there's a recording of it somewhere doing that as well. So
Yeah, I think I did that last year, or I did it at a ClickHouse meetup. It's one or the other or both. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember you doing it. It was a great demo, a great talk, and it definitely works. And that's how people with ClickHouse, again, you can bring in all these different protocols into your system.
Very cool. I posted that in the chat too. Very
Any
cool.
more questions?
I don't see any. I think we're pretty close to time, but
Close to time. I know we got done a little bit early. Hadn't counted on that, but I didn't want to live troubleshoot my demo. So
oh, you sure?
I just don't know what's going on. Blocking has to click.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's probably a stale container. The problem with when you're waiting to run a demo is you run it a couple of times and then stop it and then not realize that you ran it before, and it's painful sometimes.
Yeah, something in the volume, right? You're going to spin it up, and a volume that you're reusing gets clogged. It's probably something like that.
Well, that's what happens. I guess we will quit out, or I could, if you want me to share screen, I could show a little bit in our last minute. I don't know.
It's on you. I think I can make you the host if you want, or if you're not already.
I think I'm sharing.
Yep, you are.
Okay, I'm just showing a very interesting, well, I think is interesting feature is that WebSocket support. So I can create live HTML pages pointing to Pulsar without having to write any Pulsar specific code. It's just a little bit of jQuery, just pointing to WebSockets, grabbing that data back. So when it shows up, it just starts streaming to your dashboard, which is pretty neat. You know, like if the stream of data is live, it'll just reload your page on the fly. You don't need any kind of high-end special tools. I could just display it in a regular browser or in a app anywhere. Very easy to do, which is very cool. I guess we're out of questions. And I think we're almost out of time here. But thanks for everybody who came in. If you have any questions, put them in the chat or put them in Twitter. The slides are available for download down there if you took a look. And it's pretty easy to get access to that. And if you want more on that demo, run it yourself. I posted the link here. Pretty easy to run this. Just make sure that you have updated version of Docker and enough RAM, which always the hardest part.
Tim and David, thank you so very much for your talk today. As much as you think it didn't go well, it was a great success from our side.
It didn't blow up. I'm happy.
Yeah, it only a little bit blew up, so that's not bad. Thank you. Thank you again for everybody who attended. Appreciate it.